So here we go. We have another Tomi Lahren video that Progressive Voice just posted. So let's take a look, see what he has to say, and then we'll respond to it.
Here's something that's pretty interesting. So, Tomi Lahren has been under heavy fire from conservatives because she has voiced her opinion against overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, there seems to be two fronts to this, but I think it was more of like a cover up to not get as much backlash, but she ended up sort of giving it up anyway. It was supposed to be an electoral strategy. We don't want to do this because the way the Republicans win is staying out of social issues, even though immigration is a social issue and you pretty much cover only social issues anyways. But that aside, of course, let's see what she said about this on Fox News.
It's important to clarify my statements there because first and foremost, I believe that Judge Kavanaugh is a constitutional conservative, not a religious judicial activist, which is exactly what we want. My problem is with some of my fellow conservatives who have put it out there that we are, quote, coming for Roe v. Wade. That is a mistake.
It's the 80s. Do a lot of coke and vote for Ronald Reagan.
Invest in arbitrage and read Jay McInerney.
Tomi, listen. We've been doing this for a long time now. Did you just realize that there was a tremendous opposition to Roe versus Wade? Is that just something new to you? Were you not aware, Tomi, that there have been people fighting to get this decision reversed for 40 years now? I mean, and these people typically align right about where you are on the political scale. So you see them every day, you talk to them all the time. I'm not sure why this is such a new concept for you. But yes, we're coming for Roe versus Wade. We've been saying that for how long now? We're not lying about it. We weren't joking about it. It wasn't just hyperbole. We've been saying this for a long time, Tomi. Yes, we're coming for Roe versus Wade. It was a terrible decision when it was rendered, and it's no less terrible today. It has no basis in the Constitution. It's a game of make believe that the Supreme Court has been playing on us for 40 years, and it's time to restore reality. It's time to do what the Constitution says and not what we think it should say. And that has nothing to do with religion. This is about the rule of law. We're a nation of laws, not people. The law is what the law is. It's not what you wish it could be. Okay? If you want to change the law, go ahead. You're free to advocate for, whatever kind of laws you want. That's how the political process works. So when Roe versus Wade is overturned and the issue is returned to the people where it should have been all along, then you're free to advocate in your state for laws that make abortion access easier for women. You can do that. Okay, that's your right. That's your opinion. And this is America. This is why we have a vibrant democracy, because we debate the issues, we elect people that reflect our beliefs, and that's how our system works. But what was never intended to happen, it was never intended to just bypass that whole political debate, bypass everything, and have a group of lawyers in Washington, D.C. just pretend that the Constitution says something that it doesn't say. And then we just all have to act as if it does. We're all under some type of delusion here. And it has nothing to do with religion, not one iota to do with religion. It's not about religion. It's about overturning Roe versus Wade is about the rule of law, sanity, and the power of the people, not the power of lawyers in Washington, D.C. There's never been, that we know of, an atheist on the Supreme Court. So all the judges who voted for Roe versus Wade were ostensibly religious, and all the judges who have opposed Roe versus Wade over the years were also members of a religion. I am not a member of a religion. So my opposition to abortion has nothing to do with religion, not one bit. No, I know some people do come at it from that angle. I know that there are a lot of pro-life people out there who are religious, and that's fine, but they're not inextricably intertwined. It's not like you can't separate one from the other. And, there are tons of people who are pro-choice who happen to be a member of a religion, like Dr. George Tiller was killed at his church. Go figure. So no, I don't think Justice Kavanaugh will be a religious ideologue. What do I think Justice Kavanaugh will be? I think he will be a true constitutionalist. He's going to interpret the Constitution as it's read, not as you might want it to be read. I mean, have you actually taken the time to go back and read the Roe versus Wade ruling? I challenge people who are pro-choice and who at least have some knowledge of law, to read the Roe versus Wade decision. You'll find that it's basically totally devoid of logic or common sense or anything that you would expect in a judicial decision. It's basically Harry Blackman saying, this is what we're going to do because this is what we're doing. In a nutshell, basically. The right to abort, it's in there somewhere, pre-numbers, it's there. Trust us. No, Harry, it wasn't in there. It's not in there, and it never has been.
Because we are putting it out there and implying that we are sending a justice to the bench to carry out religious judicial activism, which is a mistake and is unconstitutional. And if we as conservatives are going to imply that, if that's going to be our messaging, we might as well spit on the Constitution. That is not what we stand for. If we are not going to uphold the Constitution on its merit, who will? That is up to us to do. So my real problem here, regardless of my views on abortion, pro-life, pro-choice, is the messaging of our Supreme Court justice and how he will handle Roe v. Wade if it comes to that point.
I mean, I'm curious. What were you planning on doing? Did you think that, when this vacancy opened up, that President Trump was going to come out and say, well, I know I campaigned and I told everybody I was going to appoint pro-life judges and everything, and we've had the support of the pro-life community. They've been working hard to get me elected, to get conservative judges appointed, but now that the metal meets the meat, we have to appoint a pro-choice judge. So that's what we're going to do. So thanks for your support, and yeah, keep voting for us, keep working for us, keep doing what you're doing. But we have to appoint a pro-choice judge. So thank you. Did you really think that was going to happen? Now remember, this Tomi Lahren is somebody who has said that overturning Roe versus Wade would be a federal intrusion into social issues when it's actually the exact opposite. Roe versus Wade itself was the federal intrusion into a social issue. Overruling Roe versus Wade is getting the federal government out of that issue and returning it to the people through their elected representatives.
Yeah, she has been under really heavy fire from conservatives for this. If you recall, the first time that this really came out where she voiced this opinion, it was while she was still working for The Blaze. She went on The View and she was talking to The View hosts, and they were conversing, and then she goes, there's a hypocrisy on the right that, hey, don't regulate my guns, but regulate abortion, when both the idea of both is supposed to be protecting human life. And she says, well, okay, I can't be a hypocrite like they are. And so that got the Republicans all up in their foot. They got their panties in a bunch heavy. They got triggered really fucking hard.
Okay, see if you can follow me on this. This might be a little complicated, but just try. Okay, the right to keep and bear arms is in the Constitution, clearly and explicitly. It's in there. Trust me, look it up. The Second Amendment. Can't miss it. Clear as day. Now, there it is. Okay, now look at abortion. Where is it in the Constitution? Where? I'll wait. Yeah, it's only there if you have a vibrant imagination and you are just, a visionary like Harry Blackman. It's not there, but it is somewhere. Now, I get that your personal preference would be the opposite, that if you could go back and talk to the founding fathers when they were writing the Constitution, you'd probably tell them, hey, listen, this whole Second Amendment thing, forget about it, leave it out. But you know what you really should put in there instead? Put in there something about women having a right to have their unborn fetus ripped out from their body and killed. Um, they probably would either laugh at you or shoot you, one or the other. And it's not to say that they were perfect people and that the Constitution's 100% perfect as written. That's why we have an amendment process. We can make changes, we can revise things, okay? But it's a bridge too far to just pretend that it says what you want it to say. Because that may be all fine and well when the person who's playing pretend, you know, has an ideology that you agree with. Okay, well, we're both on the same page here, but that's not always going to be the case. So when you let it be interpreted so broadly that it can mean whatever anybody wants it to mean, then we're basically living under a tyranny of judges who can, have such wide latitude it can mean whatever.
And Ben Shapiro was, voiced her opinion against her, and he's been going after her, that and now too. They got into quite the argument on Twitter. But basically, she's talking about, first of all, an electoral strategy, but it's very clear she does actually lean pro-choice. And that is like one of the few areas where it looks like she drifts away from the right, is leaning pro-choice, which is pretty interesting. It's actually pretty interesting to see.
I've got to lobby against Medicare cuts immediately.
Right, yeah, it's a huge mystery. I have no idea, can't fathom why, someone who adopts all these other positions happens to have a different view on abortion. I don't know why. It's like that judge that Reagan appointed. What was her name? Huh? Oh, Sandra Day O'Connor. Yeah, in the 80s. She was overall a very conservative justice, but she was pro-choice. I can't figure out why either on that one. That's a complete mystery.
It's not something that I really expected, to be honest. You would expect her to be someone who's like a super pro-lifer, but that's just simply not the case. But the Republicans are definitely up in arms. The conservatives are very, very angry. They're not excited about this. And it seems that she has been under a ton, I repeat, a ton of fire for this. And she originally started out by saying, it's an electoral move, electorally speaking, strategically speaking, we should do this because it's a strategic move. But then she kind of let the cat out of the bag and was like, oh no, like I don't think the government should do it. And then, she said, I don't think it's the government's job to do it, or I don't think the government can do it. So that's what it seemed like. It's interesting. Let me know your thoughts on this down below.
Right, and you see this happen all the time. People who don't want a policy but don't necessarily want to come out against it. So they say, oh, it's not a good strategy, like, Hillary Clinton on healthcare, on tuition-free colleges and things like that. Oh, we can never get there. It's politically unpopular, pie in the sky. It's just, an excuse because they don't really want to enact the policy, so they have to point to something. But Hillary Clinton can't get up there and say, yes, I support you guys coming out of college with, you know, 80, 90, $120,000 in student loan debt. And, we'll go ahead and cut your interest rate a little bit. How about that? Instead of paying, we'll cut 10% off your interest rate. How's that? Works for you, works for me, right?
That bank door killed a man.
We've all turned 21 in prison doing life without parole.